Just stop. Here's Ross, the host with today's dose of common sense.
Hey everybody, how you doing? Welcome back. I just thought I'd do a brief one today about the California wildfires, since that seems to be what's dominating the news right now. So another thing a lot of people don't know about me is that I'm a California native. I was born and raised there. I moved to the Midwest when I was in my late 20s, and I just never had any desire to go back. But the wildfire situation out there, California has always had wildfires. I'm 57 years old, and my earliest memories as a kid of us going camping, going on fishing trips, and things like that are that there were times when they would have a burn ban. You couldn't have a campfire, when you're camping because everything was too dry, and there was a lot of Smokey the Bear campaigns and things like that to keep everybody aware of the risk of wildfires and the risk of starting one on accident. So it's always been a thing out there, but they are becoming way more frequent and a lot more destructive. But it seems that the destructive aspect of it is because of the wind. So the higher the wind, the faster the fire moves. The faster the fire moves, the more it's going to destroy. Because if it's a slow-moving fire, they have a better chance of containing it. But if it's fast-moving, they can roll over an entire town and just burn down everything. If they're having winds of between 75 and 100 miles an hour over there in Southern California right now with the Santa Ana winds. So it's pushing that fire. It's basically a tornado that's on fire that's running through there. And I don't know if they're ever going to get on top of it. It may just have to burn itself out because I don't know if they're making any headway. I saw a report this morning that they thought it was 12 or 15% contained on one of the fires, just one, because there's multiple fires burning down there. So anyway, it's horrific and it's tragic. And I am not one of those people who's going to get online and make jokes about it or anything and try to make up bullshit reasons why Southern California is on fire right now. People can talk about forest mismanagement and things like that. Those are valid, concerns and valid arguments for things. There are differing opinions about how to manage the forestry in California, and it's been going on since before I was born, probably. But it's going to continue going on. I don't know which side is correct. I just know that wildfires are a lot more frequent now, and they're bigger, and they're destroying more things. So California is almost always in a drought condition of some sort because they don't get enough rain. So everything is dry, and it doesn't take much to ignite a fire out there, which brings up an interesting conspiracy that already existed, but people are now trying to apply it to these fires in California, and that is the existence of space lasers that are starting fires on Earth. And that involves the development and the deployment of particle beam lasers, or directed energy weapons, I guess is what they're trying to call them now, that start a fire on the ground, just like using a magnifying glass, like pretty much everybody did as a kid. You could burn up ants and stuff with this thing, or start paper on fire. Yeah, sort of like that, I guess. So the problem with that is that it's stupid. It's right up there with a flat Earth, and let me explain why. Why would anybody spend hundreds of billions of dollars between designing, engineering, developing, and deploying a satellite in space just for the purpose of starting a brush fire on Earth, when you could do that with a single match? Pitch it out the window of a moving vehicle. Poof. Giant forest fire. The people who come up with all these just really ignorant conspiracy theories about that, and it's just absurd. Just like when Hawaii happened. oh, the people with blue roofs didn't get damaged and all that other stuff. And oh, it was a directed energy weapon that started those fires. And there's really there's no way to even address that in a rational way, other than to say the entire idea is just stupid. It's just stupid. You could, pay someone to flick a book of matches into the forest, and poof, you've got a massive forest fire that's raging. But no, let's build a satellite, a secret, because in real life, people are James Bond villains who are going to spend hundreds of billions of dollars just for the sake of starting a fire. Now, these are. Let me back up a little bit here. There are left wing conspiracy theorists who are lunatics, just like there are right wing conspiracy theorists who are lunatics. Most of these are coming from people on the right. So, and it's generally some sort of conspiracy. It's the cabal, right? It's the cabal. And in a roundabout way, that usually leads to blaming the Jews, because that's who the cabal is in most of these conspiracy theories. When you dig down deep in there, it's really a bunch of people who hate Jews. So who are they? They keep saying that it's the liberal elite who are trying to control the world, and it's a globalism, and they're just trying to destroy things so that they can take over. And Southern California is like the headquarters for liberal elites. Uh, Granted, California used to be actually a conservative state when I was a kid. Republicans ran it. Actually, into my adulthood, they did. But when you're talking about the same people who are talking about this conspiracy theory are the same ones who would be talking about the pedophile rings in Hollywood, how all Hollywood actors and producers are involved in this giant secret, probably also run by the Jews, conspiracy to kidnap and sacrifice children so they can drink the adrenochrome from them and stay young. So why would they be burning down their own backyard? These are rich people's houses that are burning. Not all of them, but actors, producers, famous people. Mel Gibson's house may have burned down. Um, there's a bunch of actors. James Woods was the one that's probably been on the news the most. I guess his home burned down. Steve Gutenberg, I guess. I don't know if his house burned down, but he's been on the news a lot. They've been interviewing him a lot on the street, and I think that sort of started because the first person who started interviewing him didn't actually know who he was. So I don't know. I haven't had a chance to watch all of those interviews because there's so many. So I don't know if he lost his home. But Billy Crystal's home was in that neighborhood that burned. I don't know if his home burned down, but a lot of famous people either lost their homes or their homes were damaged, their property was damaged. So the rich and famous, the elites, who they keep saying are members of this secret cabal, are the ones who are being hit by this fire now. And so explain that. Why would the cabal burn up their own stuff? It makes no sense. It's a secret cabal that's stupid, apparently, and sets its own stuff on fire. Because that makes sense. But you guys are seriously. I'm trying to figure out how to rank you among, when compared to flat earthers. And I don't know, it's a close race. It's a very close race. The Jewish space lasers people and the flat earthers. I don't know. Right now, you guys are kind of neck and neck for taking the gold on that one, on how stupid you are. So, just a thing. Because the weather thing goes both directions, because ice and snow. It snowed in Dallas. The roads were covered in snow. I saw videos of it online, and Kansas and Missouri and lots of places in the Midwest and up north and everything are just buried under snow right now because it's winter. And it snows in the wintertime here. I think it looks like we've already gotten more snow this year than we did the last couple of years combined, probably. But that's not abnormal for us. Snow is normal here, but now the people living in Dallas, Texas, yeah, snow is probably not that common, and it probably won't last that long, and it'll melt off quickly, I imagine. But that's also being blamed on secret weather weapons. You know, it's HARP, the high frequency active auroral research project. I think is that it? Did I get that right the first try? Let's look it up. High frequency active auroral research program. All right. Well, anyway, close enough. Up in Alaska, it's a program run by the university up there in Alaska. It's I'm not going to be able to look it up fast enough, and it doesn't matter. It's in Alaska, and so, uh, but yeah, they're blaming that for both the fires and the snow and ice that are happening on the other parts of the country because the weathers are extreme currently, but really they're not. They're not extreme at all. It's we have had abnormally weak winters for the last handful of years here, so we've been wondering when it was going to come back and dump a bunch of snow on us again during the winter time because it hasn't done that for the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. It's been a very mild winter. Cold, lots of cold and lots of freezing, but very little snow accumulation. So right now, out in my backyard, there's probably 8 inches of snow, and it just started snowing less than a week ago, probably. So it's kind of been steadily coming down. But there are places in Ohio that have already gotten 2 and 3 feet of snow up by the lake. They're getting the lake effect snow that adds to that. I'm, down far from the lake, but so we're just getting kind of the normal precipitation of snow, and it's still, my poor dog is, it's a short little dog. It's struggling in the snow. I might have to go plow open a path so he can go outside. But it's not abnormal. What we've seen is the last few years where it's been a very mild winter is the abnormal thing. This is normal. So nobody here is going, oh, the HARP array is, making the winter worse because we're like, this still isn't as bad as it was 10 years ago. Because we occasionally get really bad winters where blizzard conditions, whiteout conditions can last for days. And the next thing you know, you've got to go dig out of your, backyard because you can't get to the front of the house because there's a giant snowdrift in front of it. But it hasn't been like that in a while. When I first moved to the Midwest and we had a really, really bad winter that year, and they were measuring snowfall in feet over the course of the year. And now, if they say, oh, we got a total of, 15 or 16 inches of snow total during all of winter, that's really not that much. And it typically, it just melts off. They plow and salt the roads and stuff, and it just melts off, and it doesn't really prevent anybody from doing anything around here. The time when it's the worst is if it happens on the weekend, because they're going to have fewer plows out, and there'll be fewer people on the road, so it's less of a priority. But eventually they get to it and they plow everything. So you may have to postpone going somewhere by a half a day to wait until things are plowed and the sun comes out. The things they put on the roads work better in the sun. So UV rays help activate that. So once the sun comes out and it starts hitting the roads, it tends to melt it off pretty quickly with the salt and the other slurries that they use. But you might have to go. Hey, you know what? Maybe I can wait till tomorrow to go down there to Walmart or whatever it is, because the roads are kind of nasty. And you just get online and you read it. They're like, people will report about the roads. You're like, the roads are pretty bad down here. It's okay in this county, but this county's falling behind on plowing and salting. So you just read about it, and they'll tell you on the news. It's a level 1 snow emergency or level 2. And you just kind of alter your plans. It doesn't stop you from doing anything, really. You might just have to postpone it for a day until the plows catch up. And that's really it. So what we're getting right now isn't abnormal, and it's really not that bad. So here, a lot of the times people are talking about, I don't understand why the winters aren't as bad as they used to be. So here the winters are getting milder in general. At least that's what people think. That's how they feel about it. And it could be that people remember that it was colder than it was when they were a kid. They're like, oh, it's just their memory going, man, it used to be really, really cold, and now. But it was single digits this week at different times. So it's not like it's warm right now. But your climate scientists and your activists will all tell you that all of these things are related to climate change. Um, you know, and whether you believe that human beings are contributing to climate change or not, it's irrelevant. The climate changes. So eventually, everybody has to kind of accept the fact that the climate is changing because it has changed continuously since time, period. It's always been changing. And that's how our planet turned from a giant, molten rock into what it is today because things change continuously here and cool and then heat up and then cool. But, you know, scientists and everyone else is pretty sure that human activity is contributing to the changing of the climate. And I don't know, I'm not a scientist. I'm not going to say one way or the other, but things are definitely changing. So in some places, weather's getting more severe. In some places, the weather's getting more mild. So who knows? Maybe it'll be kind of like tropical up here in Ohio eventually. It'll be like, the Bahamas. Everybody will be vacationing to Ohio to spend some time in the jungle. But probably not. Anyway, I don't know why people continuously want to try to attribute these things to some sort of weird general age conspiracy that for some reason they want to burn down Southern California, or they want the roads to be icy in Dallas because that's really going to impact how the world works. It's going to really help the globalists take over the United States if the roads are icy in Dallas for half a day. I don't know. I think you're stupid. I think you're all stupid, actually. All the people who just make up this bullshit, they're all stupid. Whether or not they believe it, if they believe those things, I don't think they can be helped. But it's really, there's nothing that you can say to them that will change their minds. And I came to that conclusion a long time ago. I can talk to people rationally about things and explain to them why they're wrong. But it's not going to change how they feel. They're not going to even change their opinion about it. They just keep going. So it doesn't matter if you prove to someone that the earth is round-ish and they were a flat earther. I think Eddie Bravo is a good example of that. He's a jiu-jitsu guy. He's one of Joe Rogan's friends. He's on there frequently, and he has gone back and forth between this. I think the earth is flat, and they faked the moon landings too. No, I was wrong about that. I think he's back to being a flat earther again. I don't know how that happened, but he's just vacillating. He's blowing with the wind. Whatever, whoever's closest to him is talking about, oh, the earth is flat or the earth is round. He's going to absorb that and, take that on as his personality, I guess. But so you can't really, reason with them and explain to them how we know these things. And you can't reason with them and say, it's snowing outside because it's winter. It has nothing to do with HAARP shooting laser beams around and making it snow. It's January. It always snows. Even if it's just a little bit, it always snows here in January. So no, I don't think me or anybody else who has a rational mind is thinking that they're using HAARP to control the weather up here because the weather's the same. It's just changing seasons just like usual. And I'm sure it's unusual for there to be snow and ice in Dallas, but I bet you it's not the first time. Yeah, even when I was in California, I was in Central California, it would get up to 110, 112 in the summertime. And that wasn't infrequent. It wasn't odd for that to happen. So if it got below 50, it was basically wintertime. I didn't own a heavy coat. I didn't have a need for one. So out here, their winter would be like a spring day out here. But anyhow, it snowed in Sacramento when I was a kid. It was a little dusting. It was barely enough for my dad to make like a little 4-inch tall snowman on the hood of the car before it all started melting off. It was just a freak thing that happened. It's not a freak thing for it to snow in California because it does up in the Sierras and things like that, up by Lake Tahoe and going up the big mountain range up there, the Sierra Nevada. It snows up there all the time. They get 15, 16 to 20 feet of snow in a season, and that's why it's a very popular place to go skiing. But down in the valley, it was not very common. But they just say, "Oh, look, we got this little tiny bit of snow. It hasn't happened in 20 years," and then everybody goes on about their business. Nobody thought they were using HARP to make it snow in Sacramento, 1972 or whatever it was. I'm going to have to look it up now and figure out when that was, or see if my parents remember that. But I don't know. It's flat earthers and directed energy weapon people. They're in competition for the dumbest conspiracy theorists out there that I have to deal with every day. So if you go on to X or any other social media platform, you're going to see it. You're going to experience that. People are going to start blaming this on everything except reality. And they're trying to capitalize on tragedy. And that's something that always just pisses me off. People are suffering right now, losing everything, and people have died. And some dumbass, in Utah is saying, "Oh yeah, that's because they're shooting them laser beams down there." And you're an idiot. You're an absolute idiot, and you shouldn't be allowed to leave your house because you're a danger to yourself and others. I think, and should probably be in an institution. But there's a lot more of those people than you would imagine, and I just don't have any tolerance for it anymore. So I just tell them like it is. When I encounter somebody who wants to start talking to me about it in person and says, "Oh, what do you think about this this thing?" I'm like, "I think you're an idiot. That's it. I think you're a dumbass if that's what you believe." So I'm not very kind to people who start conversations like that with me. But it's kind of like the flat earther thing that I ranted about that time. But it's that's all you're going to see. You're not going to see all of the explanations about forestry and the weather and drought and things like that have all contributed to the fire season. It's weird that a state has a season for fires, but they do, and it's expanding, and it's happening in other times of the year than it used to, and all that because everything's still dry. Just because it's winter, if you haven't gotten enough rain, it's still going to be dry enough to ignite if something happens. And I often wonder how many of these fires are started intentionally, and that comes from a terrorism study perspective, because that was one of the things that Al Qaeda had mentioned to cause chaos, was to just start wildfires and stuff like that and cause destruction that way. So I've often wondered, and it's only very few times have they ever caught someone actually setting them, and it's generally not Al Qaeda people. It's some dumbass who wanted to start a campfire or pitched a cigarette out a window or intentionally did it because he's an arsonist. But it's going to be somebody with a history of it, and they're not typically terrorists. As far as I know, we've never captured a terrorist for starting a fire. But I always wonder that whenever one breaks out, because I remember that that's one of the things that terrorist groups were encouraging people to do back in the day, and probably still are. But we haven't ever found any proof of it that they're doing that. Not here, at least in the United States. I don't keep up with wildfires in other countries. I know that some countries have some pretty bad problems with wildfires occasionally, but probably not nearly as bad as ours. But bad is bad, and so if just a small village burns to the ground, it's still bad. Versus an average sized town in California burning to the ground, or several of them. But I always have that in the back of my mind. Oh, another wildfire. I wonder if someone set that one. But so far, that hasn't been satisfied in my brain, where they're like, "Yeah, Al Qaeda started this fire." I doubt that they'll ever, figure that out if it's actually happening, because it just happens too frequently. So it just get lost in the mix. So how would you know? So there's my conspiracy theory for you. How many of these are being started intentionally? We'll probably never know. But yeah, I don't know. Directed energy weapons and harps and harp. I make fun of them and say you're playing with harps. But changing the weather. Yeah, no, you're just stupid. You're just stupid, and you're not helping. You're not helping anything. You're just telling people who just lost everything that it was probably the Jews who burned down your house. Sorry, but that's what they do. It's just stupid. It's absolutely stupid. You're all stupid for believing it. And I'm going to leave it at that. But, keep those people in your thoughts and prayers if you're so inclined. And, if you can contribute to, helping in some way, donate to the Red Cross or something like that. There are a lot of people out there who are suffering right now and that have lost literally everything. Not all of them were rich and famous who can easily recover. Some of them, I'm sure, were average people just like you and I. And they're going to need help because the insurance companies are going to fuck them over, and you know it. You know they are. Maybe one day I'll tell you about my own homeowners insurance thing. Yeah, insurance companies, as soon as they have the chance to fuck you over, that's what they will do. Period. The end. So a lot of those people are going to be in a pretty bad way pretty quick. And they're going to have to fight for help to get the assistance they need. And that's going to be bureaucracy and just normal greed is going to take over. So good luck to them. But like I said, if there's something you can do, if you can donate, if you can, support the Red Cross or something, do it. Feel good about yourself for a while. Donate to charity. Help somebody out who's, not doing as well as you are. So be generous. Anyway, I'll catch you guys later. I don't have anything else to say about the wildfires other than, it's horrific. And, I hope it ends soon. And until then, I'll talk to you guys later. It's been a few days since I did this because there's been a lot going on here that had nothing to do with podcasting. Do you remember how I said that I hope 2025 starts out and is a better year than 2024? So far, it hasn't started out that well. So it's nothing worth talking about. But yeah, it didn't start out that great. So hopefully it improves as it goes along. But I'll be back and we'll talk more later. And take care of yourselves. Keep your head on a swivel. Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Really? Just Stop with your host, Ross. Make sure to like and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so that you never miss a dose of some common sense.